Hey y'all, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about how I ship plants. So let's talk. Okay, so first off, I figured I'd show you all of the supplies. So obviously you'll need a box. I actually reuse a lot of the boxes that I receive other plants in, or pretty much anything that I receive in the mail. I try to save the boxes if I can, just purely for recycling purposes and saving of the monies. And then this is just tissue paper and packing paper. And this is what I wrap the plants up in, and also what I stuff the box to make it more compact so that the plants aren't jiggling around inside the box. Packing tape. And so basically what I do with the plants, these are the plants that I'm shipping out. That's a curly lipstick and a Mandula pothos. I will take this paper towel and I will spray it with, it's just regular water. It's actually tap water that I let sit out to kind of let all the chlorine and nasty things evaporate. I'll spray the paper towel with that. Then I remove the plants from the soil and I wrap the damp paper towel around their roots. Then I will wrap the saran wrap around the paper towel so that, you know, nothing in the box is getting wet, because obviously cardboard and paper, they get soggy. And I'm going to show you that process now, and I'll see you back here in just a second. Okay, I'm back. I have already removed the plants from their soil, and I've also sprayed the paper towels with water just to save a little bit of time. And of course, there's somebody mowing their lawn now in the middle of the day, in the middle of the summer in South Carolina. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the roots in the wet paper towel, and I guess I'll just save you the details and just go ahead and get started. So here's my Mandula pothos. You can see it was a cutting and it's grown quite a substantial root system, and it's super healthy, so it should ship just fine. A lot of people ask, you know, what do you do when it's so hot? But you know, most of the plants that I've shipped have had no issues, and I do ship priority, so that's only a 2 to 3 day process. So as long as they don't, you know, sit out on the porch all day or anything like that, then the plants are fine. I haven't had a single person have any issues with the health of the plants that they've received from me. So basically I'm just wrapping the roots with the wet paper towel, and I like to bunch up the end, up and over. Basically, like, you know, if you go to Subway and you order a sub, you want to cover up the ends of the roots. And it's not soaking wet, but it's nice and damp. If you squeeze, you might get a couple of drips, but you don't want it to be too wet, because then you're going to end up with root rot, and that's a whole separate issue. So damp, but not soaked, not soaking. And you can see, I'm sure you noticed, there was a lot more soil on the roots of the curly lipstick, and that's just because the roots are a little bit more fine, so it was a little harder to get all the soil off. And obviously it's okay for it to have some soil. The purpose of shipping plants bare root is to help cut down on the weight, because they charge you by the weight of the package, unless you're buying just a flat rate box, which you can buy flat rate boxes at your local post office, and those are just one fee and it doesn't matter the weight. And so if you have a larger order and you have many plants, and you know that, you know, it's probably going to be a little bit heavier than a pound or so, sometimes the flat rate boxes are a little bit more sensible as far as price is concerned. But I go ahead and calculate the price of how much it's going to cost for me to ship the plant to my customer, and I charge them that amount. And sometimes it does change a little bit once you get to the post office and you actually enter in the address, because some addresses, you know, they just are either harder to get to or whatever the case may be. I had one time, she lived in Philadelphia, and the shipping was almost $20, but it's because she was basically in the middle of the city. So the next thing I'm going to do now that, I'm going to move this box, now that the plant's root systems are fully wrapped, you can see I basically did the same thing with the saran wrap that I did with the paper towel, and this is just to keep the dampness from getting on the paper or in the actual like cardboard of the box, because you don't want anything to be damp. So now I'll take, this is just regular tissue paper, like the kind of stuff you put in gift bags, and I'm going to place the plants inside of here, and then I kind of just roll them up like a burrito. So you want to be careful. These two plants here I'm not too worried about because they're not super delicate, but some plants are a little bit more tedious to wrap up because you don't want to damage the foliage. But luckily, you know, most plants, even if the foliage does come damaged, you can just remove the foliage itself, the leaves, and as long as the root system is healthy, then usually it'll bounce right back. But I do like to do my best to stop any kind of damage in the shipping process, because when you see a plant online, you see it for what it really is. You see it in its best light, and you know, you want that plant to arrive. And I mean, it can't always happen, but like I said, I try to do my best to do make it happen. So you can see I went ahead and taped it so that it doesn't come undone. And so basically the plant is just in the middle of this taco here, this burrito, right? And so with the curly lipstick, you know, it's pretty thin. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the top and I'm going to fold it down above where the foliage stops. And then I'm just going to take some more tape and tape that down. Now with the Manjula, and normally I would just cut this in half, but I don't have my scissors, so I'm just going to rip it and try not to make a huge mess of it. Alright, because you definitely don't need a full sheet for something this small. And you don't want to be wasteful either. So again, I'm just rolling it up like a burrito about halfway, and then I take the bottom, I leave some excess space on the bottom, I fold it up, and then I continue rolling, so that way it kind of creates a little pocket down below. So again, you can see there's the little leaves sitting inside its little burrito, and of course my tape had to like not cooperate while I'm making this video, so excuse me while I fiddle with it for just a minute. So I'm going to tape it closed, and then I'm going to find the very top of the foliage, and I'm going to pinch it closed and fold it over like that, and then I'm going to tape that part down also. It's not pretty, but it's not about what it looks like, it's about keeping the plant safe. So now I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way and I'll pack up the box. So I just have this box here. it's difficult to find the right size box sometimes, just because some plants aren't like really big, but they're just long. So like the curly lipstick, it's not like a huge plant, but it's kind of a longer package because it's trailing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside the box, and I'll try to show you. I'm going to have it sitting in the middle here like this. I'm actually going to tape it down to the bottom of the box so that it can't roll around, because the less movement that they experience in transit, the more likely they'll arrive in one piece, in perfect condition. And so I'm going to do the same thing now with the Manjula. Since it's smaller, it'll just fit next to the bigger guys. I'm just going to take this tape that I was struggling with earlier, and not to waste things, I'm going to use it to tape it down. So now you can see that they're taped down inside here. They're not going anywhere. And I'm going to take some packing paper, and I buy this at Walmart. I think it's like 50 sheets for like $5 basically, so it's not bad. And then a lot of times whenever I receive plants in the mail, it has something similar. So I try, if it's not like really nasty or wet or dirty, then I try to reuse that also. But I've reused everything that I have, so I'm having to use new stuff. But I do try to recycle. I also use newspaper, magazines, whatever I have laying around, just to cut down on the amount of paper that I'm using. I definitely don't recommend like styrofoam or packing peanuts if you can avoid them. Honestly, paper, even though it's cutting down trees, you can actually buy recycled paper, and then at least paper can be recycled. So hopefully that your recipients will either do something else with it or send it to the recycling. So now I'm just going to tape the box closed, and that's pretty self-explanatory. From here on out, it's pretty obvious what is to be done. You want to make sure everything's taped down really well. You don't want it to accidentally pop open. I have had that happen before, and some plants must have actually fallen out. Either the box busted open or somebody tampered with it and there were plants missing, and that was pretty upsetting. But unfortunately you can't control every aspect, because once it leaves your hands, you never know who else is going to have their hands on it. So hopefully it's somebody who cares enough to make sure your package is delivered safely. But sometimes things happen. So basically now this is it. And what I'll do from here is, just to save myself some time, I go ahead and write down, you definitely want to have your return address labeled, because otherwise it's a suspicious package and they go, okay, well, we know where it's going, but where did it come from, what's inside of it? And that can delay the delivery. So you definitely want to write down your address on here as a return address. And then I also will I go ahead and write down the recipient's address on the box. I don't print out my own shipping labels because right now I don't have a printer. But if you use PayPal actually will print out shipping labels through the information that you receive when you're communicating with the person for the sale and that kind of thing, which is super helpful. And I do use PayPal for all my transactions, but like I said, I don't have a printer right now. So I write down my address, and then I write down the recipient's address, and then when I go to the post office, all you have to do is just walk in there with however many packages you have. And there have been several times where I've had a massive amount of boxes, and they know who I am, so they know I'm coming. But basically, you'll just walk up to the counter whenever it's your turn to be served, and the service person behind the desk will enter everything in for you, and they'll ask you, is there anything flammable, fragile, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then they ask you, how do you want to ship it? And like I said, I ship everything priority, so that's usually 2 to 3 days depending on how far away it is. and then, you know, it prints out a label, they put it on there, and they take the box. And so it's really not that difficult. And the most time-consuming part, aside from actually packing the plants up in the box, is waiting in line and having all of the addresses entered into the system. So if you have a way to save time, if you do have a printer, I definitely recommend it. You can even schedule pickup from your home by the postal service. So you have 10 boxes. You can tell them, okay, I have 10 boxes that I need picked up at 3 o'clock on this day, and they will come and pick the packages up for you if you already have your shipping labels printed out and everything, which is super convenient. And you would think I would take advantage of that convenience because I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids, but again, I don't have a printer yet. So once I do get a printer, though, I'm gonna make it a lot easier on myself and not have to drive up there to the post office with all these boxes. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope this helps everybody out. If you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment down below. If you have any other tips for us or for others, make sure you leave that in the comments as well. I think everybody kind of has their own little version of something like this. And you know, whatever works for you, it works. You know, like I said, this is just how I do it. I have other people who, you know, ship theirs a little bit differently, and you can ship different types of plants differently too. But like I said, this is just the typical way that I do most plants. So I hope that this was useful for you. And again, like I said, if you have any questions or if you have any other tips, make sure you leave comments down below. And thanks for watching. Bye! Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see all of my videos.